All right, so we're diving into something a little different today. A new release called Unnatural, and they're calling it a supernatural Western.
Interesting.
I actually thought of you when I saw it. Knowing how much you love history and all,
Yeah, sounds like an interesting premise.
blending genres like that, I mean. A
Mm.
Western with supernatural elements.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they pull it off.
Me too, but you want to know the craziest part?
What's that?
The star of the film is former WWE superstar Al Snow.
Wow. Okay. Now that's a surprise.
Right. I mean, from the wrestling ring to the Wild West, that's
Yep.
a heck of a career move.
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't know much about his acting, but
Hmm.
I did read that he insisted on doing all his own stunts for the film.
Hmm.
And there's a funny story. Apparently, during one scene, he was supposed to crash through a table, classic wrestling move,
Right.
and the table didn't break. And he was genuinely disappointed.
Huh. Sounds like he really committed to the role.
Yeah. Wow.
From a marketing standpoint. Casting Al Snow is actually a pretty clever move, I think.
How so?
Well, think about it. You've got the wrestling fans who'll want to see him in action, and then you've got the horror fans who might be intrigued by the supernatural element.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's like they're tapping into two separate audiences.
Widening their appeal.
Exactly.
And then, speaking of appealing to a specific audience, did you know they filmed the whole thing on location in Possum Trot, Tennessee?
Possum Trot.
Yeah, that incredible replica of an Old West town.
Oh, right. I've heard of that place.
They actually had the entire cast and crew live on set during the filming.
Wow, talk about an immersive experience.
Right. I mean, it definitely adds a layer of authenticity. And speaking of authenticity and history in general,
Go on.
I read that Al Snow's character uses a Colt Walker pistol in the film.
Really?
Yeah. The one from 1847. They're super rare. Apparently only like 175 of them still exist.
No way.
Yeah. So they really paid attention to detail.
That's incredible. I mean, to include such a historically significant firearm, it definitely makes you wonder if they're aiming to appeal to history buffs as well.
Right. Like firearm enthusiasts and things like that.
Exactly. And, the Colt Walker, it's not just a random prop, right? It's a symbol of power, technology, the changing landscape of the West during that era.
That's a good point. Makes you wonder what kind of deeper meaning they might be going for.
Yeah.
Especially with the supernatural stuff thrown in.
Right.
It's definitely a lot to unpack. And speaking of unpacking, maybe this is a good time to start exploring how real-life events in folklore, from the 1880s, might have influenced the film's themes.
Yeah, good idea. Let's dig into that. When you think about the 1880s in the American West, it's hard not to think about westward expansion. Gold rushes, pioneers, outlaws. It was a time of immense change.
Yeah, a period where the known world was constantly being redefined,
Exactly.
venturing into the unknown, facing both the beauty and the brutality of nature. It definitely sets the stage for exploring those supernatural themes.
For sure. And within that historical context, there were some real-life events that must have felt downright supernatural to the people who experienced them.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the Donner Party expedition, for example. Given your interest in history, I'm sure you're familiar with that story.
Oh, of course. It's a chilling tale. A group of American pioneers. Back in the 1840s, they got trapped in the Sierra Nevada mountains during a brutal winter, and they ended up resorting to cannibalism to survive.
Right, a grim reminder of the harsh realities of frontier life and the extremes that humans are capable of when faced with survival.
It's hard to imagine being in that situation.
I know, and just think, how would an event like that have been perceived back then, without our modern understanding of psychology and survival instincts?
I mean, it must have fueled all sorts of rumors and legends, blurring the lines between reality and superstition.
Exactly.
It's almost like the Donner Party story became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the darkness that could lurk beneath the surface.
And the Donner Party wasn't an isolated incident. The American West was filled with stories of ghost towns, haunted mines, encounters with mysterious creatures. It all adds to this sense of the supernatural.
Right, like woven into the fabric of everyday life.
Exactly.
Like the stories of skinwalkers in Native American folklore.
Oh, yeah.
Shape-shifting beings said to inhabit the land,
Oh.
long before European settlers arrived. Imagine encountering something like that, out in the vast wilderness.
Where your senses are already heightened by the unfamiliar surroundings.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easy to see how those tales would take root and spread.
Offering explanations for the unexplainable.
Right, and giving shape to the fears that naturally arose in such an unpredictable environment.
It makes you wonder, if those stories served a dual purpose, On one hand, they provide entertainment, a way to connect with others, share in the thrill of the unknown.
Yeah, like gathering around a campfire, sharing spooky stories.
Exactly. But on the other hand, maybe they also help people cope with the very real dangers and anxieties of frontier life.
That's a good point.
By attributing certain events or misfortunes to supernatural forces, it might have given people a sense of control,
Mm,
a way to explain the seemingly random chaos of the world around them.
I see what you mean.
And that brings us back to Unnatural, a film set in this very era,
Yeah.
steeped in this atmosphere of historical events and folklore.
Right, blurring the lines between the natural and the supernatural.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder if the filmmakers are consciously tapping into these historical anxieties.
Using the supernatural as a metaphor for the very real challenges faced by those who ventured into the West.
It's possible.
Or maybe it's a commentary on our enduring fascination with the unexplained, our desire to believe in something beyond the realm of our everyday understanding.
Even in a modern world that strives for scientific explanation.
Right.
It's a fascinating question.
And you know what's particularly interesting to me? The fact that they chose to cast Al Snow in this context.
It is a bold move for sure.
A figure so deeply rooted in the world of professional wrestling.
Right, it could be a way to attract a wider audience, as we discussed earlier.
Right.
But it also makes you wonder, are they playing with our expectations?
Deliberately blurring the lines between fiction and reality.
Much like the historical context we've been discussing.
It really makes you think, huh?
It does.
I mean, what are the implications of casting someone like Al Snow in a film that's trying to capture the feel of the 1880s?
Well, you could see it as a bold artistic choice, a way to subvert expectations, you know? Challenge the traditional norms of the Western genre
Right.
by casting someone with such a distinct persona. Outside of acting, I mean. They're introducing an element of unpredictability.
Yeah, for sure. It makes me wonder if it's also a commentary on how we view history and entertainment, you know?
How so?
Like,
Wow.
are they suggesting that maybe we shouldn't take things so seriously,
Yeah.
that there's room for playful reinterpretation, even within genres that are steeped in historical context?
That's interesting. It kind of aligns with what we were talking about earlier, about blurring the lines between reality and fiction.
Right.
Maybe Unnatural is inviting us to question our own perceptions of what's real and what's imagined,
Yeah.
both within the film itself and in the way we approach history as a whole.
I like that. Like, they're giving us permission to have fun with history.
Yeah.
Reimagine it through a different lens. Speaking of reimagining things, I read that about 80% of the actors in the film were actually students. Yeah, they were participating in some kind of actors retreat.
Wow, so not only are they blending genres, they're also blending levels of experience within the cast.
Exactly. It makes you wonder how that dynamic plays out on screen.
I'd be curious to see that.
Does it bring a certain rawness or energy to the performances?
Maybe even a sense of discovery as these aspiring actors are learning and growing
Yeah.
alongside more seasoned professionals.
Right, it's a really interesting experiment.
It makes me think about the film's themes too, the unknown and the unpredictable.
Yeah.
It's like they're mirroring that within the production itself.
Embracing the unexpected outcomes.
Hmm,
That can arise when you bring together a diverse group of people.
that's a really cool way to look at it.
And for anyone listening who might be considering watching the film,
Right.
I think that's a key takeaway. Unnatural seems to be all about pushing boundaries, challenging conventions.
Absolutely. It's not afraid to take risks. With the genre, the casting, even the filmmaking approach itself,
Right.
it's like an invitation to step outside of our comfort zones and embrace the unknown.
And isn't that what a deep dive is all about? Exploring new territories, uncovering hidden connections,
Absolutely.
expanding our understanding of the world around us.
Exactly. And with Unnatural, it seems like that exploration takes place on multiple levels. Within the film's narrative, within the historical context, and even within the production process itself.
It's multi-layered.
It is.
So to wrap things up, I think it's safe to say that Unnatural is a film that sparks curiosity
For sure.
and invites deeper reflection.
Absolutely. As you delve into this film, keep an open mind, embrace the unexpected, and see where the journey takes you. Who knows what insights you might uncover along the way?